Ready, Zeus? So good job. We were going to practice a bit with the handsome guy and work a little bit with some loose leash walking, but then also work a bit with our weight behavior. So I know we've been working a little bit with that place behavior, so going to a target spot and then working a bit with our stay. I know for a lot of folks, sometimes stays and weights for some can be seeming a little confusing. So what I mean by that is when we, and of course I'm going to just warm them up with some loose leash walking as I'm blabbing. So let's say, for example, our stay position is where the pups are being fed for being stationary. So when it comes to a stay behavior, you want to think about it almost like freeze tag with room service. So when your puppy is stuck in their stay, that's the only time they're being reinforced. So if you've done a stay in the past where the puppy is sometimes being told don't move, and then at other times being told come forward, that can become really confusing. So what I like to recommend is have a distinct stay behavior and a distinct wait behavior. So just like I have a, for example, down and I have a sit cue, those are both different skills. So therefore, when the puppy's working one versus the other, he can distinguish which one I would prefer. So let's say, for example, stays are also, I like to think about it almost like freeze tag with room service. So remember how he was practicing earlier on his little target bed? Stays do not have to happen always on a target. So I tell my students, remember that just because in class or at home we're practicing a stay where your puppy's going to a dog bed or a cot or a target, and they're working a bit with settling on that mat and working then their stay, don't view the stay as it can't happen anywhere else. So you're not going to be going out on a walk or into the woods or in your yard and have to bring a dog bed to work a stay position. Though I would keep the stay behavior if you are working with a dog bed, use only stay for going and settling on that spot if you wanted them to work on that duration and being stationary in the spot. Remember with stay, you're building up your duration. So for example, let's say we're going to work with a stay right here. There's no target needed. Stays can happen anywhere, but I wouldn't do both a wait and a stay from the target mat, if that makes sense. So let's say we're having him sit. I'm going to tell him to stay. If he wants to do it down, I would, again, I'm not super stingy. So what I mean by that is if my puppy feels more comfortable doing a down stay than a sit stay, I really don't care. If my dog, though, we're working on other skills, and let's say, for example, we're going to eventually compete in something where certain behaviors are very much so needed to be performed, then I would recommend, like, let's say you started your puppy in a sit stay, you could bring them back into a sit, reinforce that sitting has value. So let's say we were doing a sit stay, I want to keep the repetition short and sweet. So I'm building up that not moving has value and that sitting in a sitting position is good. So again, notice how, again, rapid fire with lots of good repetitions between the sit stay. I'm going to give him his last little snack and then we're going to end the stay. So I like to use my words all done. He was like, lady, there was a crumb. So I would either say all done, release, finish, free time. I don't love using the word okay, and a lot of folks might love it. The reason I don't really enjoy the word okay for training is that we use okay all the time, and then we start to replace many different behaviors or cues with the word okay. So you might have your puppy doing a different behavior like a wait, and then you release them with the okay to come to you, but that now the okay is replacing recall. So I like to think of what do I want from my puppy, and then let's ask for that skill by the name that we gave it. So again, we're going to maybe work one more stay, and I'm going to show you those weights instead. So again, stay. And let's say for in the beginning, remember we mentioned the 3 Ds of training. If your puppy finds that movement is hard, so let's say, for example, again, ready, down. Good job. So let's say they think that you adding movement is difficult. Stay still and work with time frame for starters. So you're going to have your duration, your distance, and your distraction levels that you're always competing with. Also remember, and he's like, hold on, I smell some snacks always end up in the crumb eventually, in the crack eventually. So let's say your pup is working with some of these beautiful stays and they break, no big deal. Again, breaking, all it means is they get up and they wiggle. you would just reset them up and start again. If your puppy though was very, let's say, distractible, or they're getting maybe tired, or the dynamic is well past their understanding, then that might be what this looks like, is your puppy unable to perform the skill or the task. So again, we're gonna get that little sit. I'm gonna again go ahead and reinforce for that beautiful behavior. I'm gonna tell him to stay. And now I'm gonna get a couple snacks ready. If you find it's easier, have them in your hands. So that way you're ready to reinforce these moments where he's stationary. If let's say you do 2 to 3 reps, awesome. I would try to avoid doing 1 rep and then always releasing. If you always do just 1 rep, then that tends to equal for the puppy anytime the handler comes nearby. We must be all done. And I want to start building up my duration, and then eventually my distances and my distractions. So let's say I want to end my stay. I fed him his last snack. I'm going to say all done. He says, let's wrestle. And we get up and we wiggle. So he gets no reinforcement for leaving the stay or for breaking from the sit or the down position. He could also be working stays in a standing position. Maybe you're looking at him for grooming, or maybe he has to stand for a moment to get an exam done. So a standing stay can be helpful too. So wait is going to be different than your stay. So stay, again, think about stay like statue stay or stay for safety. At no point do you recall your puppy from the stay, because you're building value in not moving. So stationary for stay can be helpful. So now let's say I'm going to do my weights. Mr. Z says, you're blabbing way too much. So with my weight behavior, I'm going to set up my puppy. So I might get him into a little sit. I might tell him to wait. And if you cannot add distance, so if let's say I took a step and that meant he wiggled, I wouldn't add distance. So from here, I'm going to go, Zeus, come, and then pull him into me for the recall. So for the wait behavior, this is where waiting, for example, I'm just going to do a little find it for him for a second. Wait is where I would be using this for proper hellos, like waiting and then going to say hi to grandma, or wait and then go release to grab their food dish or a toy or to retrieve something. So you can work on weights also to help you with impulse control, where your puppy has to hold back. What'd you say, my lovey? Okay. Ebba says she would like another snack. She's eating her blueberries and her strawberries again, but she wants some cheese to go with it. So with Mr. Handsome, what I'm going to do is I'll give him a little breather for a second, and then we'll continue and we'll work with weights for a little bit. And then that way you can kind of see after the stay behavior how weights will vary in comparison to the 2 different skills. So right now he's just working some find its. So find its are just, again, tossing a snack or 2, getting him distracted, and then from there having him reorient back to you, or get him in the habit of sometimes doing a find it because the environment's getting too stimulating, and he can go take a break with those find its off to the side. So, and then 2, Zeus, you can also work like name recognition, or name cookie as I call it, on the document, where you could send him away for a crumb and then have him bounce back to you for that lovely name association, or just have it become fun to go from the environment back into your bubble. So that way later this would help you with, again, those recalls, loose leash walking, and many other really helpful skills for down the road for the handsome man. So we'll take a little break from the stays, and I'm going to go into that weight information in just a moment.